Hello everyone and welcome back to another Stitches and Scribbles tutorial. Today we are continuing our Dungeons and Dragons series with our human shawl. For this shawl I am using Caron Simply Soft in the color Bone. I do have 4 of these as of right now. I will let you know as we progress how many I actually end up using. I really have 4 because they came in a pack of 4 when I ordered them. So I'll let you know how many I end up using for this project. In addition to that, I am using a set of circular needles in 5.5 millimeter. Let's get started. This is going to be a pretty simple pattern to begin with the option to add some extra detail. We're going to be creating a pocket shawl today. The basic body of the shawl is a pretty simple stitch pattern. If you know basic knit purl stitches, then you're going to be good to go. The pockets are where we're going to add some cable detailing. And the inspiration for this pattern was wanting something that would be warm and comfortable, but also has the practicality of the pockets. We're going to start with a slip knot as always. And you're going to cast on 65 stitches. I'm going to show you just a couple so that you can get the hang of it. But I hook my yarn over my thumb and then pick it up and loop it on. Like so. You can use the cast on method of your choice. If this doesn't work for you, go ahead and cast on your 65 stitches and then I will check back. Alright, once you have cast on your 65 stitches, our first 8 rows are actually just going to be a knit all. This is just to kind of give us a nice base around the bottom that will continue up the sides with basic knit stitches. So, basic knit stitch, you poke your needle in so that it's sticking through the back, wrap around, and go under and off. So your first 8 rows are just going to be to knit all the way across all 8 times. I'll check back in with you when those 8 rows are done, since those are pretty easy. Alright, once you finish your first 8 rows, it should look something like this. I have gotten out 2 knitting stitch markers just because we're going to have a border on our pattern, and while this pattern is simple enough that you don't really need them, for me it kind of stops me from being on autopilot while I'm knitting and knitting all the way across when I don't mean to do that. So the way the rest of the piece is going to work, because there's only 1 repeat row, you're going to knit the first 4 and that creates our side border. So 1, 2, 3, 4. That's where I'm going to slip on my stitch marker to show the end of my border. Then we're going to do a pattern that starts with a knit 1, and then you're going to repeat purl 1, knit 1 until there are 4 stitches left. So slowing it down a little bit, purl 1 and knit 1. This repeated pattern is going to give us a moss stitch texture on the body of our work, giving it something a little bit more unique than just a basic garter stitch, but still simple enough and thick enough that this is going to be a really warm, thick piece. So go ahead and complete that purl 1, knit 1 pattern until there are 4 stitches left on your needle. Once there are 4 stitches left, I'm going to slide on my other stitch marker and then just knit the remaining 4. By starting and ending each row with that knit 4, it's going to keep a garter stitch border going up the sides, just like what we have at the bottom. You're going to continue that 1 repeat row until the desired length of your project, and then we're going to finish it off with another 8 rows of garter stitch. I'll show you what it looks like in an in-between stage so you can start to see what that moss stitch pattern looks like. Alright, welcome back for part 2 of this. I finished the main body of the shawl. I ended with 8 rows of plain garter stitch, just like I started the piece with, so that I have the same edging on both ends, but this is the corner of it that I can show underneath my setup camera. Now we're going to work on the pocket, and I do have 1 pocket already completed. I think it turned out super cute. I'm really happy with how the pocket looks. This is definitely the more complicated part of the tutorial, so if you want to just do the same stitch count that I'm starting with and do just the seed stitch like the body of the shawl itself was. That's totally fine. I just wanted to throw in some fun cables, and I've never tried a alternating cable pattern like this before where there's thin ones and thick ones. Those skinny lines are in fact 2-stitch wide cables that go all the way up. So let's get started. You're going to need some more of your yarn, of course, and you're going to start by casting on 58 stitches. I still have my circular needles for this part because they were out, but you can use straight needles for this one if you would like. Just doing basic cast on, so go ahead and cast on 58 stitches and then come back. And it should look kind of like that. Now, oops, lost the other end. As I do with most of my patterns, I'm going to start with a row of plain knitting just to kind of reinforce that foundation. I also like to use this row as a chance to double check my stitch count. So you're just going to do plain knit row all the way across. All right, and there's our first row. We're going to do one row that kind of counts as our setup row, and then there is a 6-row repeat for this pattern that I'll make sure pops up on screen so that you can follow along with me. Our setup row, we're going to start with a knit 2, and then I put a stitch marker here to mark off that that's my border. This is the little garter stitch border on the side that we're marking off here. So there's my 2 stitches for border. Then I'm going to purl 2, then knit 2, purl 2. All right, and this is the start of the repeat for the row. So we are going to knit 6, and 6, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. So we're alternating between sections of 6 knit stitches across, 2 purls, 2 knits, and then 2 purls again, so that we get our different width cables. So again, that repeat is knit 6, purl 2, knit 2, purl 2. You're going to repeat that until your last 2 stitches. Once you're left with 2 stitches on your needle, you're going to stick on that stitch marker if you so choose and just knit the remaining 2 for your garter stitch border. Now starts the first row of the repeat, which is row 3 of the pattern. You're going to knit 2, slide over that stitch marker, then you're going to knit 2, purl 2, knit 2. And this starts the repeat for the row. You're going to purl 6, then knit 2, purl 2. So you're basically doing the reverse of what you did in that previous row. You're going to go ahead and repeat that, an extra knit 2, So you're repeating purl 6, knit 2, purl 2, knit 2 until your last 2 stitches. And again, once you get to those last 2 stitches, slide over your stitch marker and knit 2. For the next row, you're going to need a cable needle. It doesn't have to be an actual cable needle. You can use a pencil, you can use a toothpick, anything that's about the same width as your knitting needle will work. I like these kind of U-shaped cable needle. Well, I guess they're both U-shaped, but these straighter ones better than the like actual U, like hook-shaped ones, because I think that they stay on a little bit better. So you're going to need something in order to do the cables. So this is row 2 of the repeat. You're going to knit 2 and slide your stitch marker over. Then you're going to purl 2. And we're going to do a cable 2 forward. So when we're talking about cables, you always name it in terms of how many stitches the cable is wide in total, not just the part that you're cabling. So if it's cable 2 forward, I'm going to slide 1 stitch onto my cable needle and let it fall in front of my work, knit the one that's behind it, and then knit the one on the cable needle. Like so. Then we're going to purl 2, and knit 6. And this knit 6 is the start of the repeat for the row. So knit 6, purl 2, cable 2 forward, so slide 1 off, knit the one behind it, and then knit the one that's on the cable needle. And then purl 2. So then until the end of the row, you're going to repeat the knit 6, purl 2, cable 2 forward, purl 2 until the last 2 stitches, which we knit. And again, at those last 2 stitches, you just slide over your stitch marker and knit 2. So we just did row 1 and 2 of the repeat. For row 3, you repeat row 1. For row 4, you repeat row 2. And for row 5, you repeat row 1 again. So you're going to do the same thing over again. So the wrong side is just knits and purls. The right side is cabling on those 2 cables. And I'll come back and show you row 6 of the repeat where we do the cable 3 forwards. Alright, so I have completed rows 1 through 5 of my repeat, so it's time to do row 6. Row 6, you're going to start as always by doing your knit 2 border and sliding that stitch marker over. Now we're going to purl 2 and cable 2 forward, just like we did before. Purl 2. And now we're going to start our repeat for the row. So the repeat for the row starts with a cable 6 forward. So we're going to slide off 3, let it go in front of the work, knit 3 behind it, and then knit the 3 that are on the cable needle. Like that. Then you purl 2, cable 2 forward, and purl 2. And you're going to continue that pattern until the last 2 stitches, which of course we knit. So you're alternating purl, cable 6 forward, purl 2, cable 2 forward, and purl 2 across the row until the last 2 stitches. Before I move on to showing you the final product, I want to talk about some options for the edging of the pocket. So you can just stop when you're ready to stop, but I would recommend your last row being a row 5 of the repeat, because that leaves you with a flat edge instead of ending right on a twist, and it just lays a little bit better when you're done. After that, you have a couple choices. I did a 1x1 rib along the top, so knit 1, purl 1 all the way across, and then the same going back the other direction. You could also end with plain garter stitch like we did for the edges of the shawl. So you've got a couple choices for what you want to do with the edge, but any simple stitch will do, or just stopping with the edge of the cables. This does lay pretty flat, as you can see from the other edge of the piece. So you don't really need to worry about curling or anything like that. I just knew that I wanted some ribbing on the edge of the pocket detail. So go ahead and finish your pockets and then sew them to your shawl, and I'll show you the final project with a little bit of movie magic in just a second. And this is how the finished piece turned out. I'll pull up the pockets so that you can see. Got nice big pockets and nice big shawl. Hope you enjoyed this tutorial. I will see you in the next one.